To my dearest friend, Arcturo. We have not spoken to each other in almost half a decade now, but I write to you now to tell you that my position has garnered everything and nothing these past few years. It was fortuitous circumstance that kept me from the chopping block, and even more so that the king himself gave me a title and charge of his forces. Très bon. It seems the life we had as privateers is rearing its ugly head, though, and I shall explain why by the end of this letter. His Majesty has seen fit to put me in the honorable and frustrating position of organizing his scattered militia. We've received word several months ago that some of his lords were turning against him and marching toward the capital. Not a simple task to handle, mind you. And I don't have much experience with the large-scale warfare. Now, there are many nobles who still claim loyalty to His Majesty, but given how much they complain about being charged to muster soldiers to fight these turncoats, you would not believe so. Even worse, the throne is hiring foreign mercenaries. I do not know if you have ever had the chance to meet these lone snakes, Corps, but I assure you that there has never been a greater group of braggarts, junks, and killers of all the known world. Worse than we ever were. I must admit they are quite good with sword and the arquebus, but being around them is more trouble than it's worth. What can I do? There are few other mercenaries to be trusted. The Swiss have become unreliable, and their methods far too outdated. And the tercios from Spain? Their devotion is too high. Their methods are too manipulative. His Majesty will never risk that kind of trickery too close to the throne. So, lone snakes it is, I suppose. There is another complication on top of the insurrection. The lords are claiming that the throne is weak and decadent to justify their betrayal. Even if those claims had merit, we did receive word from one of our sailing companies that these turncoats are being rallied by the Dutch throne. Pourquoi? As far as we were concerned, the Dutch only had one real competitor, the Kingdom of Portugal. These two kingdoms normally battled at sea over their trade routes and their exotic goods that they keep importing. But they have no reason to campaign against our lands, the France. We could not fathom their game. Sowing seeds of rebellion usually followed a declaration of war if it was to be so. But so far, nothing. Arcturo, this puzzled me for a long time. I tried to use all of my contacts, the esteemed and the unsavory. But nobody had solid intelligence we could employ. On land we have begun campaigning against our brothers, our cousins, our fathers. Cannons and muskets and crossbowmen, cavalry, footmen, and arms to match must be issued. And on the sea is another matter entirely. The Dutch planned for that as well. It seems a missive, un royal missive, was sent to several vessels claiming that our navy had been infiltrated, and their boats are to fire on any French vessel that they encounter. This is absurd. Unfortunately, a few of the captains took this sinister bait and actually destroyed over a dozen ships. We even received reports of a number of mutinies as well. Mon Dieu, our navy is in chaos, and blood is already staining our fields. There is very little I could have done, and now it seems that I am acting as both the general and admiral as well. But why am I writing to you about these nightmares, shall we say? Because it was a grand orchestration and a slap in the face to His Majesty, in a greater degree than we knew at the time. Just recently, a message was delivered. Jesuit missionaries, sponsored by, oddly enough, the Portuguese throne, sailed far to the east, past any tangible lands of civilization. Somehow they landed on the coast of Cathay and found their way into the fabled lands of China, to which we had only heard rumors about. Some claimed that the land was just a myth, or that the only way to reach it was to die, or to perform some sort of bizarre incantation to travel there. But these missionaries, they even met with very important officials from what they referred to as a grand realm of China. Their description of them was truly wondrous. It was fantastic, Arcturo. In their dealings, they oddly enough learned through Turkish merchants that they were in a vast and wealthy empire Christian lands knew nothing about. Now, how these very shrewd Turkish merchants knew of them, nobody truly knows. But this is news most incredible. The message also brought an invitation by the emperor himself, the emperor of the imperial throne of 1,000 men, himself. It read that anyone could come and pay tribute to those whom swam in seas of starlight, to those whom bridged the heavens to the earth, those whom clad their chevaliers in gold and gems, breathed fire, and danced on water. Well, these missionaries, they told of unremarkable things. Now, how their fighters fought in absolute perfect unison by the dozens, how their food surpassed even our finest cuisine, and how bizarre and magical creatures roamed the land. Well, now you can tell simply by my excitement in this letter just how amazing it all sounds. Apparently His Majesty was not the only monarch to receive this invitation. The missionaries had spread word of their travels to all of Christendom, and the ruler of China is opening their thousand ports, as they call it, to all European men of power. And that, mon ami, that is when I knew exactly why the Dutch would sponsor our own turmoil. Now, if this invitation arrived at the doorstep of all of the movers and shakers of Europe, everyone would be scrambling to get there, laying claim to what they can, bartering and bowing before these demigods in exchange for gold or even powers most fantastic. Now, if the Portuguese already knew, then the Dutch would do nothing to get there before more competitors arrived. But what about the others? Well, England still struggles to plant their flag in the New World to the west. Spain is doing everything they can to keep this new land and, of course, show off against the Portuguese. The Italian merchants, they are busy keeping the waters safe from Ottoman pirates. And France. Mon Dieu, we could have started on this land of China and truly spread the splendor of our throne. But our king is wise enough to focus his forces on domestic affairs. Rebellion is no laughing matter, oui. And as a former seafarer and privateer, though, it truly saddens me that we must delay our efforts, probably to the advantage of the Dutch. Now that is why I am writing you, Arturo. The truth is, I am not a very good general, and I am only a slightly better admiral because of my times at sea. But my heart yearns for adventure. I have been moving around marginally for the king these past few years, and it is not enough. I spoke with His Majesty and begged to lead an expedition to these Carthaginian shores. Now he begrudgingly allowed my leave, and he told me that I must travel on my own. After all, he would not risk losing another one of his ships to a mutiny or Dutch trickery, you see. So, mon ami, what say you sail to one of our ports, pick up my person and some of my new things, and we shall set sail once again, this time to a land of wonder. I shall make sure my blade is sharpened and my pistols cleaned. Please come to see me. Your oldest and most sincere privateer companion, Fulbert Drago de Fontaine.